Hello and welcome to today's interview with Daamen, eWater's principal hydrologist. In today's interview, we'll be talking about Maharashtra, the work eWater has engaged in the upper Godavari River. Hello, Cal, and welcome to this interview. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
We'll cover the development of a science to policy modelling framework to support the development of an integrated water resource management plan for the upper Godavari surface. Looking at the challenges met and how they were overcame. So I'll get right into the questions. How did the project come about?
Well, the project came about partly through an MOU between the Government of New South Wales and the Government of Maharashtra. They signed this MOU in 2012, and following on from that, there was some water crises in Maharashtra. So the basin that we've ended up working in is the upper Godavari. So Godavari River is one of the larger rivers in India. I think it's the second largest basin, second only to the Ganga. And we're working in the headwaters of the upper Godavari. So the reason the project came about was because the sharing of water between upstream water users and downstream water users within this sub-basin was not happening in a way that was acceptable to all of the people in the basin. And in 2012, it reached a crisis point because a lot of the dams in the upstream of the catchment had a lot of water in them, and the large dam at the base of the catchment had nothing in it. And obviously the downstream people were not very happy, and they said, we would like you to release some water so that we have at least a small amount in our lower dam. And the upstream people said, but we don't have a lot of water this year, we need it all, sort of thing. So there was a bit of a conversation, and in India that usually results in, when the discussions get tough, it ends up in court. And this is what happened in this case. There was a big court case, and eventually the High Court, one of the management agencies made a decision to release water, and that was challenged. But the High Court upheld the decision of this management authority, the Maharashtra Water Resources Regulatory Authority, maintained their right to order the release of water, and the water was released. But out of all of that process came this need to understand the catchment better and to manage it better, and that's really what sparked the project. In the middle of this crisis, or towards the end of this crisis, the project specification was written and agreed, and then eWater was engaged by New South Wales to assist with the execution of the project.
Okay. So what were the desired outcomes of the project?
Well, the desired outcomes were to allow to use the tools, the eWater Source River Basin Modelling tool, to support decision making with regards to the sharing of water. You use the scientific-based method to evaluate what the options were for sharing water between the upstream reservoirs and the downstream reservoir, basically. Yeah.
So with any project, there is challenges that come about.
Yeah. So
were there any challenges that came from figuring this out and bringing the whole project together?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it was a big. I think it was a big change in perspective for the Department of Water Resources in Maharashtra. They hadn't done this sort of work before, and mostly reservoirs are managed on a reservoir by reservoir basis, not at a basin scale. So that was a big challenge, I guess one of the obvious things that has been difficult is the gathering of data in one central location to build the model. We've had a lot of administrative challenges as well because there haven't been a lot of previous projects within the Water Resources Department with an international input to those projects. So the administrative details of how an international project would be run were also one of the challenges that the project was presented with. But we worked through all of that. It's taken a bit longer than we wanted, but we're in a very good position now, and we're actually hosting a group of Maharashtrian officials as we speak. They're in Australia, and I'm going to join with them in Sydney tonight, and we're going to tour some of Australia's sort of irrigation management agencies, but also go to an irrigation area and show them how things are done in Australia, or how we'd like things to be done in Australia.
So what do you see for the future of Maharashtra and e-water?
Well, I hope we're very keen to maintain our relationship with the government of Maharashtra. We think we've made some good strides forward in terms of developing some understanding and good personal relationships, but also a change in attitude towards management at the basin level, really. So there's been we're coming to the end of our current project, but there's been a lot of discussion of perhaps formation of a centre of excellence for integrated water resource management, and we're hoping we'll be able to support Maharashtra in the establishment of that centre, and potentially have the opportunity to take groups of experts from New South Wales or from Australia more broadly to share their understanding and also share the troubles they've had in managing their water resource, so that Maharashtra can learn from those experiences, and through this Centre of Excellence, then there'll be a focus group, if you like, that will know what the best practice is for water resource management across Maharashtra.
Okay. So what role does modelling play in the development of the Upper Godavari?
So modelling is very important because one of the big issues in any river basin management study is having all of your stakeholders agree. And if they don't agree, then at least to be able to understand why a particular decision is being made. And river basin modelling is very good to assist with that. You're to a large degree, if you build your model well, it can be an objective assessment of different management options. So the Maharashtrians have already come up with a set of options for sharing water between the upstream reservoirs and the downstream reservoir. Quite a complicated set of rules that we've put into our river basin model. So we're now looking at those results, and we're seeing that in some cases it seems that perhaps they're releasing too much water, and in other cases it's looking like the rules are going well. So we can use the model to test different options, to adjust the rules so that we can optimise the outcomes. And the optimum outcome is not, obviously, is not something you can just assume everybody knows, because the upstream stakeholders have one optimum outcome and the downstream stakeholders have another optimum outcome. So the model helps the stakeholders talk to each other and also helps us come up with a scientifically based solution that will help the legislators put in a policy guideline or a guideline that will come up with a fairer way of sharing the resource.
Okay. So modelling is important for robust decision making. What could be the long-term strategy for integrating modelling into decision support systems for Maharashtra?
Well, the long-term strategy, I guess, if we follow the example that's been set in Australia, there might be a management cycle. So we might, in Australia, quite often we might have a catchment management plan or a river basin management plan that is renewed every 10 years or so. So every 10 years you go back and you have a look and you see, are this set of water sharing rules, are they working okay? Or are there conditions under which they're not working? Or perhaps there's a new, the irrigators are growing a new crop that we wasn't previously considered in the model. So there's always things to change in a model and there's always improvements to make. So what as we do in Australia, I'd like to see in Maharashtra a regular cycle of planning and as well as that, use of the model for operational decisions. So Maharashtra is very dominated by a single season of rainfall, so the Kharif season, the monsoon season, is the only season when there's any rainfall or any significant rainfall. And what happens that towards the end of that season, in the middle of October, they quite often make decisions about how they're going to share the water resource. So in October, we could apply the model or run the model under a range of different conditions under a range of different water release strategies, should I say. We could look at the effects of those different release strategies under following conditions of climate or and under different scenarios within each part of the catchment. So that would be, they're the two ways. So river basin modelling as a part of a long-term planning strategy that's updated and renewed, and also using the river basin model for operational planning, or operational use in the sense of testing different release scenarios in reservoirs.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you for coming in and giving us information about this project. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Charlene.
Thank you.